Shalom, brother and sister truth seekers. So, I'm going to be hitting this topic hard because there's some humans that I really love that are kind of mixed up on this topic, and I mean I want to know and convince myself as well that it's absolutely one way or another, and this is a topic that I was studying deeply 5 years ago, and then my life kind of got turned upside down before I finished that study, and I think I found peace at the time, but I really never finished turning over every single stone, and life's just been crazy ever since. And I'm only now finally getting back into it, and I really want to get to the bottom of it. So there are going to be several videos and discussions on this topic, and I'm trying to have loving iron sharpening iron. I want to take you along with me, and I want to hear your thoughts. If you disagree with anything, I want to really test things out thoroughly. I want to I want to hear the best points on both sides of the discussion to try and make a good final decision here, and help those people who have questions. Um, so yeah, this I'm just going to go through. This is the start of this study on this topic. I'm going to share what I've got from the past and kind of what I've been looking at recently, and I hope you'll let me know if you see something's being missed or you disagree with something. That's totally fine, or if there's something that can just make this more clear, I appreciate it. But let's see. I'm just going to fly through it, and we're going to set some ground rules and just go with it. So, when does the 24-hour cycle begin? I think, yeah, it'll probably be important to check both the different translations, not just the Masoretic text. I'm worried about traditions and Masoretes potentially monkeying with things, so you definitely want to check other translations. But as far as I can tell, doing a quick comparison of the Greek and the Hebrew, it looks like these are going to be keywords evening and morning, and from the looks of it, it looks like these words are pretty consistently translated as dusk and dawn. And we're talking about not a moment of time, but like the period of time, evening, dusk. It starts with sunset and it ends with complete darkness, and then morning starts with the first light on the horizon and ends with sunrise. And so these are the words. Here are some important rules. This is actually very important. Let me know if you disagree with this, but there should only be one evening, or one dusk in a 24-hour day cycle. Like I feel like people read a lot of these verses and they can convince themselves one way or another because they're being too general and too broad, and there's like this blending of, well, maybe the evening's partially in the morning or maybe it's partially in the evening. And so I think we gotta come to make a rule here, and again, let me know if you disagree, if you know of any Bible verses that show otherwise. But I think there is only one evening or one dusk in a 24-hour cycle. There's not like a little bit at both ends of the day. There's only one. Like if the day switches over at sunset, then there's only one dusk that follows, and so on. Otherwise, how would they know which evening to kill Passover on and stuff like that? If there were two evenings in one day, like how do you know which one to pick? So I think there's only one evening or one dusk in a 24-hour cycle. Likewise, I think there's only one morning or one dawn in a 24-hour day cycle. And I just want to say we have to be very sharp in our interpretation of Scripture. We can't leave room for assumptions. If the Scripture is not exactly saying what we're concluding, then don't hang your hat on any assumptions. And if something can be interpreted, reasonably interpreted, to support both sides of the discussion, move on. And go don't waste time arguing about those verses. I mean, make note of it. Um, but I would say, if you do come across some verses that you think can't be countered, of course, make a list of those, and that's what I'm going to be doing. I think maybe there's at least a few that should be considered, not not maybe necessarily that they're absolute, but that they are they can't be argued against. I don't think. So a few nuggets from the past. Um, when I started this topic, getting into this topic, I just all of a sudden someone brought it up. Uh, Man, I think it was a years ago, but it was just one of those topics where it was like, oh, why haven't I ever thought of that before? I mean, why haven't I been open to consider that and test that the day could begin in the morning? I was doing the midnight Roman day, and then I came into truth, and I was doing the evening day, and then all of a sudden I heard the morning, and it was like there's some good points being made, and so it was at that point that I realized there were really only two pillars that the uh, evening day start was standing on, and that was in Genesis 1:4, Genesis 1, where it's talking about evening and morning were the first day, and then the specific instruction about the Day of Atonement that was saying from evening to evening should you celebrate your Sabbath. And I'm sure we'll get into those more later. Just the quick overview of that is I think it was a very specific instruction for the Day of Atonement, and it would be an assumption to say it was anything, should be applied to anything more than the Day of Atonement. That it, like that's the hard line. I'm saying we need to be careful if we want to get to truth. If it didn't absolutely say all Sabbaths begin at evening to evening, then let's not add or read things into the text. If it was only for the Day of Atonement, then let's keep it that way, and look for other witnesses. And as far as the Genesis account, like we'll get into a few other things to consider there, but like the evening, like I read it that way too initially, evening and morning, but then you read it again and you're like, well, wait a minute, maybe it's a sequence of events where he created during the day, he had lunch, he created during the afternoon, he had dinner, there was evening, and then there was morning, and that's the end of it. It's like a sequence of events, and so it works either way. And I'm not going to get into it too deep right now. I'll put some pictures together for that later to look more closely. But I guess here's a big one where I left off on my study was this word yesternight. So 5 years ago when I had to switch gears and take care of other things in life. The this story of Lot and his daughters, you can read it, but the unique word that they use here is yesternight, and you just have to look into that word and study it and pray about it. But it's there's a very unique word, and it's talking about the previous night. And his sister or his daughter or whatever, she went and talked to her sister the next day and said, this is what happened last night, and it was yester night, like it wasn't the night associated with that day. So that seemed pretty solid. I don't see anything so absolute like that many other places, but this is a unique word to consider for sure. Another thing I wanted to point out was in Genesis. um, I don't know where it is. Genesis 1. I think here it is. This is something to consider. I wouldn't say it's absolute, but on top of what I said, I think it's something to consider. You should jot it down and consider it because it can't. I wouldn't say it's absolute, but it can't be spoken against as far as I can see. But you can argue, oh, there was darkness before the light and blah, blah, blah. But I would say the first creative act in creation, the first creative act was him saying, let there be light. And sure, there was darkness for an infinity of time before then. But the first creative thing he said was, let there be light. So I think that's important to consider. But the other thing to consider is he named the day first, and then he named the darkness next. Like this order, this sequence is important to consider. Like it didn't say he named the night, he named the darkness night, and he named the day, the light day. Like this is the order that he followed. It was day and then it was night. Um, so I think that's important to consider. And I'm just going to fly through a few other notes here. So he named the day first. Okay. And yeah, I don't think you will ever find a period of time described as nights followed by days. Like when you read things like 3 days and 3 nights or 40 days and 40 nights, I think I have a note down here. Yeah, you can see where this journey began. I think that's where it began. I've got all kinds of old notes in here. But yeah, where is that? Down here. 16 times someone was claiming in the scriptures days are counted off like 3 days and 3 nights, and they are never, you will never see it like 3 nights and 3 days or 7 nights and 7 days. Like, that is not the order that we see in the scriptures. Like, when the Creator talks about a duration of time, it's days followed by nights. Like, not absolute, but I more and more I think you should strongly I'm feeling that should be strongly considered. And here this verse in Jeremiah, I like this one too. If you can break my covenant with the day and my covenant with the night, so that there should be not day or night in their time. Like, this is their time and this is their order. And I think that's important to consider. There are, like, when I was studying this topic 5 years ago, there were lots of verses in the Bible that you seemed to be able to read both ways, and it was almost making my mind and other people's minds who were studying with me blow up as we went through it, because you could read it one way and you could read it another way, and if you can read it both ways, you just need to move on. And if you think you can read anything that I'm sharing with you now both ways, please let me know. I'm trying to share with you the best ones that I think really have stand out a little bit. But this, I guess I highlighted this one. This one, you should look into this one, the man a week. Something about, the morning and the key word, the morrow, like this, they kept it that night. You should read this story and think about the day and the night cycle, and I think it'll jump out. Um, but I think I'm not going to go too much deeper other than to point out this. I've been studying the Passover week with someone recently, and it's really confusing. It's good though. This is good to get into this kind of stuff, and especially to have Loving Iron Sharpening Iron. Like, I think the Creator designed it so that we would talk to each other, and somebody has a puzzle piece and they can share it, and we can think about it. And you look more at the scriptures and the Word, and it jumps out at you, and it becomes more real, and you test and prove these things. But so, okay, preliminarily, I'm looking at this upper upper sequence here is the days starting at dusk, evening, and this lower sequence is the days starting at evening, morning, dawn. Uh, so we talk about what dawn and dusk are here, and yeah, I'm just showing the day count here because it's interesting. It seems like we're almost commanded to eat unleavened bread for 8 days. But anyway, just real quickly, and I'm going to end this for now, but when you look at the day starting at dusk, it's interesting because we know the Passover was to be killed at in the evening. So days beginning at the evening again, and this is key. Like, it's not over here, or it's, well, maybe it is over there. I mean, please let me know if someone feels strongly that there's another scenario that needs to be considered. But I'm just looking at this now, and this way I can add another one at a time. But if the days start at evening, because people just I mean, I know Adventists, Seventh-day Adventists really lock in on that, and there's a Hebrew tradition starting in the evening, and I think a lot of Torah folks went with days starting in the evening. So just looking at this, there's only one evening in the 24-hour day cycle for the 14th, and so to me it doesn't. I had to map it out to look at it, and I'm just want to talk through it. If it makes sense to you, that's we're just trying to have loving iron sharpening iron here, and it's going to be the Holy Spirit that convicts everyone at the end of the day. But the if there's only one evening and it starts on the 14th, I feel like there must be Bible stories, I haven't tracked them down yet, that talk about things that are happening on the 14th, on the day of the Passover, and it talks about, like, later this day, the Passover is going to be killed. And that doesn't work when you've got dusk evening starting the day. Uh, so that's kind of weird. And then if you do have dusk starting the day, you've got like this gap. Like, so you kill the lamb, the death angel passes over that night, you eat unleavened bread that night, you're commanded to. And then this dawn and the light portion of the day is technically not unleavened. It's not unleavened bread because it's still the 14th day, and Leviticus 23 is very clear that the Passover was killed on the 14th day, and unleavened bread is on the 15th day. So it's, you got this weird gap here that I'm not I'm noticing right off the bat. I don't like it, but maybe someone can explain it. So then you run through. I'll tell you what, brother and sister truth seekers, the enemy does not want me to do this. I tried to upload some stuff to Facebook earlier. I took some time to like talk through some of this stuff that I'm well, write it in text form to make a post on Facebook and put a screen capture of this up just in the post on Facebook, and it's just been spinning and not uploading. And then I tried to get through this, and I got through the whole thing, and all of a sudden I realized it randomly cut me off in the middle of this discussion. I think when I was talking about the gap here, I talked for another 2 or 3 minutes, I guess, to finish this up, but I can tell the enemy is trying to make trouble for me. So this is important. Don't let him. This is anyway. So where was I? So yeah, I just want to say I'm noticing a gap here, and I guess the important thing to consider is, and I'm sure there must be a Bible story somewhere that talks through the sequence of events, but I'm pretty sure like after they eat the Passover, like the next dawn should be the first day of unleavened bread. There shouldn't be this gap here. Like you've got an entire daylight portion of a day before unleavened bread begins, because Leviticus 23 is clear that unleavened bread begins on the 15th, not the 14th. So, yeah, I haven't dug into it yet, but I'm pretty sure there must be a story in the Bible that talks about the sequence of events, and surely the dawn following uh, the killing of the Passover is supposed to be unleavened bread. Maybe I'm wrong, but Phil, definitely please chime in if you know anything about why this gap is here, or does it make sense, or is there something else to consider? The other thing I noticed is at the end of the week of unleavened bread, we're in no Exodus 12:18, I think we're commanded to eat unleavened bread until the evening. So if the evening is the start of the day, it's just like you eat unleavened bread and you don't eat unleavened bread for like this whole day, like the daylight portion of the 21st, like all those hours of daylight, you only eat unleavened bread for maybe dinner this night, and then you don't eat any, you stop for the last full day, the daylight portion of the 7th day of unleavened bread, the 21st day, you're not needing to eat unleavened bread anymore. It doesn't seem to make sense to me. If you feel free to say otherwise of it, if you think there's something to consider there. But so to wrap this up, this lower scenario is the day beginning at the dawn, and it just seems to make more sense to me. Not saying 100% yet, but those gaps are gone. And if the day starts at dawn, the 14th day. I think this is important because if I didn't mention it already, I get confused because the thing cut me off. But like, I'm pretty sure there must be some Bible stories that talk about like things happening on the 14th day leading up to the killing of the lamb. Like, and that can't happen here. Like if the daylight portion of the 14th is following, then it just doesn't work out. Like if it says they were in the marketplace buying this something, getting ready for the Passover because Passover was later that night, it doesn't work that way. Because if it said it was the 14th day, because yeah, the 14th day begins in the evening, the Passover was supposed to be killed in the evening, so it doesn't add up. But this does. Like, it's the day and then the evening and then darkness, and then the next dawn is the first day of unleavened bread, and you go all the way through, and again eating until dusk. It seems to make more sense for